Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Van Buren Variety Show. Yes, we're here once a week, ladies and gentlemen, to talk to an individual guest about an interesting topic. Could be the person's profession, it might be a hobby, a how-to segment, or just a general interest. And I've even had some guests on to play a musical instrument. So when I say Van Buren Variety, we stress variety on this show because we talk about anything and everything that a guest wants to talk about. And you, my subscribers and audience, if you like, you have a suggestion for me, I will have my email address up shortly, and you can make a suggestion about a topic you'd like to see me cover, or if you have a guest in mind. Would love to have them on the show as well. So I am Bob Van Buren, your host, once a week with Van Buren Variety. So to my subscribers and to my audience that's always loyal, tunes in week after week, thank you. Couldn't do this without you. And to the newcomers that I know are out there, appreciate you tuning in, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this weeks, months, maybe even years from now. We appreciate your support. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm sure that would love to see you tune in week after week, and hit the like button if you like tonight's guest and you like tonight's topic. That like button really, really would help me out, and also help my guest out. Let people know about her works and her interview. I hope you've had a great week so far, but as of right now, when I say that I am iced in, I mean that in every sense of the word. As everybody can see, I'm from Texas, but in my part of the state right now, we had sleet and freezing rain yesterday evening, and it came down this morning. Literally, this part of the state, we are out as far as travel, and we have another round coming in either late tonight or early in the morning to be on top of the mess that's already frozen. And it's not going to get above freezing at all. Last time I checked, it was 24 degrees outside. So luckily, I had the sense to go to the grocery store, pack some groceries, some water, food, just everything I need to be locked in for the next 2 or 3 days. Luckily, I have a very understanding employer. They sent an email out that says, hey, everybody stay home, work from home. But I don't mind being home, but I wish they wouldn't stress the work from home. You got to give and take. So yeah, they expect me to be home. They expect me to work. Man, how can I work when it's so nice outside? As far as seeing the white snow or ice all over the driveway where I don't have to go out. But no, work from home means just that. Work from home. So hey, I am glad to have a job anyway, so I better do what the boss says, right? Well, I hope everybody else is having better weather than we are here in this part of the state of Texas, because like I said, we're locked in. I mean, we're almost, like it was when everybody was locked in a few years ago because of the pandemic. We are now locked in because of the weather. So say a prayer for us here in Texas. We'd appreciate that. Well, that's enough about me, enough about Texas, enough about the weather. Got a great guest tonight, and she is an author, but she also writes in a genre that I personally am interested in. Sometimes we have nightmares, we have things that scare us, and sometimes we need to escape our own horrors to talk about somebody else's fear. And when you read a book like that, you just want the person to survive, and you don't know what's going to happen, and the suspense is killing you. And we now have an author tonight that's going to talk to us about that and some of her works that she's had. So without further ado, I'll bring in my guest on tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Erica Schaef. She is an author, and she will tell you all about her interesting genre that I know me included are very, very interested in. So Erica, welcome to the Van Buren Variety Show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on.
And a nice cat, too.
He'll probably pop back up here.
Okay. Well, tell us now, I've intrigued the audience. Tell us, what genre do you write in?
So the genre that I write in is horror, and I've written all different types of horror, from body horror, psychological horror. I've done some cosmic horror. So basically, my main goal with anything I write in that genre is to frighten the reader.
Oh, that well, yeah, you know what? Sometimes we need that. We need that extra jump, the suspense, you know. I'm aging myself. When I think of horror, I think of the classic stuff that they had a long time ago, like for example, Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy. But I was more, into the more modern stuff like Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th or the Halloween movies, but even the Stephen King films like Pet
Hmm.
Cemetery. That one personally really got me.
Yeah.
So he's done some other great stuff, but uh, your horror now, uh, would you say your terror is because it's maybe a human doing evil to another human, or could this be, the proverbial boogeyman that's in these stories, or both?
I do a little bit of both. I would say less. I have done a few where it's human evil, but that's to me. I don't like to do too much real life evil because we live enough of that. I like to kind of do more of an entertaining, what I think of as entertaining. So I like to do more supernatural or
Oh, sure.
psychological. Maybe you're not sure if it's really supernatural or if it's just the character's perception. Like I like
Mm.
the thought of an unreliable narrator to the story.
Like in third person, in a way.
Yeah, so if I'm telling the story from the perspective of a character, maybe you're not sure that you can trust what this character is saying. Agatha Christie did that sometimes.
Oh, I like that. Yes. Uh-huh. So, okay. When I talked about real life, I was thinking, remember, this is kind of a gross film, but have you seen the movie Hostel? I mean,
Yeah,
I had to cringe on that one. I was like,
yeah,
it's scary, but they really went over the top of the torture,
yeah. I don't
so
like. I mean, and some people, that's fine. Some people like that. I don't. That's not my favorite kind of. Um,
yeah,
that's not what I personally
your cup
like.
of tea, yes.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, but we talk about psychological. When I think of psychological or spiritual, I think of the film Paranormal Activity. That one really got me because you see it from the point of view of the camera, not
Hmm.
from the point of view of the characters in. So that kind of is what drew me in.
Yeah.
Um, Now you just finished a book here a while back, correct?
Hmm.
Okay, let me bring that book up, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring up Erica's latest book, and I'll let her tantalize with you because if you like horror and spirituality and paranormal stories, it'll keep you on the edge of your seat. This might be the book for you. So, Erica, we'll let you go from here. This is called This Cold Night, and even that in itself is tantalizing. So, kind of tell us about your book.
Yeah, so the actual title is from a Shakespeare. It's from Macbeth, from a quote in
Mm-hmm.
Macbeth. Or I'm sorry, not Macbeth, King Lear. Oh my gosh, it's from King Lear. Um, but so this story is basically about a young woman who has attended the funeral of someone she loves, and
Okay.
she goes back to a family estate with some of the other funeral guests there, and then they get snowed in, the electric goes out, and
Ooh,
things start happening.
wow.
And basically, it's kind of a build-up for the reader to try to figure out what's going on, why the things that are happening are happening.
Now, see the artwork on the screen. That house in the back, does it take place at someone's house? Is it a funeral home, a hotel, or
So
what kind of building is it?
it all takes place in a house, like a big country estate house, and
Okay.
it all takes place in the course of one night.
Oh, in one night.
Hmm.
Ooh. How many characters overall in this story, would you
So
say? Is
the
it a group of people or is it a small group of
yeah,
people?
it's a family. So I'd say probably around 7 people in it total.
Okay.
Mostly it's about two, well, two or three.
Wow. Well, what was your inspiration? Did you have an inspiration? What I mean by that is, did you just invent these characters and these stories as you go, or did you like hear maybe a real life news story or base it on someone maybe that you know or you've heard of? How'd you come up with the story and the characters?
Well, I've always really liked haunted house stories, which I mean, there's a million of them.
I do too.
I really like an aspect of the haunted house story or trope, whatever you want to call it, that I really like is the backstory of why this place became haunted
Hmm.
and what is haunting it. Is it something supernatural? Is it somebody, a person doing something? Is it in somebody's head? So I like to try to, for this, I was trying to think of something original that I hadn't seen before in a haunted house story.
Oh, that sounds
So
intriguing.
I think that just my own personal preference as a reader, I think was kind of my inspiration for this.
Okay. How long did it take you to write it? I mean, did you it pretty quick, or did it take a few months? Or I don't mean publishing. I mean just like to finish
Right.
writing it from
So
beginning to
yeah,
end.
writing it a few months probably, and then I had it through my publisher, Brigids Gate Press, and they had some editors look at it, which was really nice. So they would make notes, and then I would kind of go back and be like, okay, that makes sense, and change some things around. So that added a little bit of time, but yeah, just probably a few months, maybe 6 months.
Interesting. Did you like when you write these stories? I mean, do you how to say it? Sometimes do you an author maybe get scared of their own, imagination? Did you feel like the characters maybe jumped out at you a few times, even though you created them? I've heard that story from other authors. I didn't know if that happened with you.
Yeah, that's happened to me sometimes when I'm writing. There was one short story I was writing where that happened to me, where I was like, oh, I gotta stop for a while because I'm freaking myself out. Because I was trying to describe a really scary moment, and I was like, okay, that's yeah. So
Okay.
it has happened. It doesn't happen to me very often, but it has happened to me.
Now, is this story? Can anybody read it, or I mean, is there like a? I guess what I'm saying is it a PG 13, or
R.
it's definitely R. Okay, so this is an adult story. Okay, I want to make sure. Okay, yeah. So yeah, rated R, restricted, under
Mhm.
17, not in there without parent.
Right.
Okay, is this book now? Is this going to be a standalone book, or are you going to have like a sequel or a series of books? How would you describe it?
No, so this one's going to be just a standalone book. It I don't want to say it wraps itself up. I'll say.
So so in other words, all the loose ends you've wrapped up in
Yes.
there.
Right.
Okay. Now, I see the estate, but what part of the country does this take place in?
So I don't think I say specifically. It's in
Okay.
the American Northeast.
Okay. Like the New England, possibly the New England states
Right.
then.
Yes.
Hence, I guess that's snow on the ground. I guess in the background. I don't know if that is
Yes.
or.
Yeah. There's a blizzard that happens. Yes.
Okay, so 7 people in a mansion. They just came back from a funeral. Man, that opens up all kinds of avenues right there.
Hmm.
Without giving the story away, now are any of these people related, or are they just friends or strangers or
Both. So there
both?
are
Okay.
some of the characters are related, and some are friends of the family.
Did you do the artwork on this as well? It looks really
No,
intriguing.
an artist named Elizabeth Leggett. I think it's Leggett. I think did the
Hmm.
cover art for this.
Did a good job.
Yes, yes, she did. She's a great artist.
So, how long have you been writing overall? Not necessarily published, but have you always been interested in writing when you were little, or did you just later on you develop an interest? So, kind of, how did your writing interest begin?
Yeah, no, since I was little, I've loved writing since I can remember. Really, even in elementary school, I really loved making up stories and writing them down. And I think when I was a teenager, I wrote my first novel, but it was terrible. Like it was never see the light of day, terrible. But I did it, and I was like, oh, okay, uh, and I enjoyed the experience. So, yeah, I'd say my whole life I've really enjoyed writing and storytelling. Um, but it's just been over the past few years that I've been really uh, doing it with the goal of getting published or other people seeing it or anything like that.
Well, let me ask you this: with a little bit of work, maybe a little tweaking, could you maybe that story you told me you thought stunk? Is there any way that would see the light of day with maybe a little bit of your extra work in it sprinkled in, or was that is
It
that
would
going
have
to
to
be
be a
gone
lot of
forever?
extra work sprinkled in.
A lot of work is what you said.
But it's definitely a really good learning. Uh, it was
Hmm.
definitely a good learning experience.
Was that a horror or a terror book as well, or was that something
No, it
else?
was a historical romance.
Oh, but that's a completely flip than where you are
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Okay, well, that's great. When Now that's not this book here. That's your latest book, but
yes.
you have other books though,
Hmm.
and so we'll kind of go through different ones that you've written before, ladies and gentlemen. So here's some other books that Erica has written that we'll display that I'll let her tell about. This one's called looks like Eska. Is that
Yep.
correct? So it looks
Yes.
like
So
a deep sea, like is it Jaws or something?
it's a deep sea horror. Yeah. Uh, this was a short. story. I think it was about 5,000 words that
Oh, okay.
I wrote for an anthology by a publisher called Sentinel Creatives. They're in South
Hmm.
Africa,
Oh,
and
South Africa.
in a it was in an anthology with other horror stories that are kind of based on H.P. Lovecraft type writing, like the cosmic horror. And so they made this one into an audio production on Audible. So that's what this cover is for. That's why it says performed by.
Oh, it's
Um,
an audio book. Okay.
yeah, so it's an audio. It has some music and different voices for different characters.
So it looks like, well, now I see the monster on the left, and then I see the shark. Now, what is that on the right? Is that a submarine next to the shark,
Yeah, so
or
that's the deep submersion vehicle. Yeah, it's like a little one-man submarine.
wow? I have to read that because I'm interested to see what that thing is on the left side. I can only
Yeah,
imagine because
yeah,
I'm. You see the shark. I mean, that's supposed to be a quote Jaws, but now you
right.
see that thing over there, so that's even
Yeah,
worse.
yeah.
So when did this get published? When did you come out with this one?
I think this came out last year, 2022. It came out.
Well, fairly recent. So
Yeah.
man, you wrote this book last year, and now you've got this new one this year. Man, you
So
wrote two books then.
this, um, oops. Sorry.
Oh,
Um,
no problem. I get those all the time too.
so what happens a lot of times is I'll write a short story or whatever. I'll write a few short stories. Like say I'll write one month, and then a couple months later I'll write another one. And then
I see.
sometimes, like depending on what publisher they're going with or when they're coming out, sometimes books and things will come out at the same time, even though I didn't write them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there have been times when I'm working on two different projects at once. So I might be doing like a longer, like a novella or a novel, and then also be doing a short story at the same time. Sorry, my allergies are my throat.
Oh no, that's okay. You know what? That's exactly
Yeah.
why I keep a little cup of water next to my desk, just in case. So man, so you actually can multitask writing, correct? Would you say that?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Man, I can't hardly multitask just doing things around the house, much less writing.
Well, me neither. No, not housework.
Well, there's a lot of people. In fact, I want to show you a comment. Maybe you can kind of give some advice. We have a comment from one of the audience. Uh, the comment is, I've tried writing a few novels, but can't ever stay focused enough to finish. So how do you, Erica, stay focused when you're writing? How do you get away from the distractions?
I think for me, my advice for that would be try to write about something that you're really excited about and that you feel a lot of enthusiasm for.
Hmm.
And when you get to a point where you're like, okay, either you get like writer's block or you're just like, you can take a small break, but then give yourself, like, okay, I'll take this next couple of days off or whatever. And then just write through it. Even if what you're writing is not that great, you can always go back and fix it. But I feel like actually just writing through writer's block and things like that really helps because you don't give yourself the option to quit. And if it's something especially if you have a character that you really like or an idea that you're really, really passionate about, anything that's going to keep your enthusiasm up to finish the book, I think is going to be really helpful for that.
Great. You kind of got to get into, I guess you could say, your own world. Would that be a good
Exactly.
statement?
Yeah.
I've written a few things, and sometimes it helps me, for me personally, maybe you too, but what I do is this is what I do. I don't write just the story. I try to get into the character's head. What would he say or she say in this situation? In other words, I kind of become that character as I'm writing. Is that how you do it too, or is that you do a
Yeah,
different
and a
method?
lot of times I'll end up having a huge backstory for a character that doesn't get in the book because it doesn't really matter to the story.
Hmm.
But for me to understand what the character's motivations are or anything, sometimes I'll have like a whole backstory that is, like I said, it's irrelevant to the story, but you make it up in your head so that you have an understanding, especially if you're doing like alternating points of view. You don't want all your characters to sound like they have the same voice, even though they're all obviously written by the same person.
Yes, you got to have conflict to make the story work.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always got to be a conflict. Let's talk about your other works. You've got so many, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to show some more of what she's done. This one, just the title of this intrigues me, and probably you too, ladies and gentlemen. So here's the book, Carnival Macabre. Now that doesn't sound like a nice carnival that you want to take your family and friends to. Would that be a correct statement?
Correct statement. So this is an anthology of short stories, and one of the short stories in this book is mine, and this is from Quill and Crow Publishing. So I mean, it is what you would think by looking at the title. It's gothic themed, carnival themed horror stories.
So it all takes place at a carnival.
Yeah, so they're all unrelated stories.
Oh, they're not the same carnival. It's different story, different people.
Different authors, different stories, but they're all with the theme of carnival and gothic horror.
Ooh, that sounds very. I've heard that that movie a long time ago. What was it called? Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that title.
There is a clown story in there.
Ooh, you know what that reminds me of?
And it's really good.
Stephen King's It. Now that one really got me.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I think The Shining was the first book that I had to stop reading for a while because it scared me so much.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I mean, nothing against the movie, but the book has so much more in there.
Yeah, I thought the movie was entertaining, but the book was scary.
Mm-hmm. And the book of It told a lot more than what the movie did as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's disturbing.
There were some things, I won't give Stephen King's plot away, but there were things in the book that they could never film.
Right.
Because that would be banned for life. So yeah, but let's talk about your book. Let's go back to Carnival Macabre. I mean, how many stories are in this anthology in this book? Do you know?
I think it's been a while since I've read. I think it's about 11 or 12.
11.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
11 short stories, I think.
Wow. Now, when did you write that? Or when was your story written for this book? What year? How long ago?
After the pandemic, so 2021 maybe.
So you've been busy. You had a book in 2021, 2022, and now here's 2023.
I haven't really, like I said, it's only been a few years that I've been actively trying to share any of my writing or anything like that. So anything that's come out has been in the last few years or so.
Well, that's interesting. That's great. Ladies and gentlemen, if clowns really scare you and you want a good scare, not just clowns, but anything at a carnival that could go wrong, will go wrong, this might be the book for you. Where is it? Right here? Yeah, get that book right there. And then before I go to your next book, some of your audience is really probably intrigued by now, and they'd love to buy your works, Erica. So if they want to buy any of your works, like this one especially, or any others, where would you tell them to go? Where could they purchase your books?
So that one, This Cold Night, is from the publisher Brigids Gate Press. It's on Amazon and it's on Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
Eska, I think they're all on Amazon.
Are they on Amazon?
Yeah. Eska, the audio production, is on Audible.
Okay. And then this one?
I know it's on Amazon, and the publisher Quill and Crow is probably other places too, but I don't know for sure.
Seems like you can get most everything off of Amazon now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's great. So definitely order that book, ladies and gentlemen, if you're interested. But we're not done yet. We actually have another one here, and Erica can tell us about this one as well. So this one, the artwork itself, as well as the title, intrigued me because it looks like it's out of focus, but maybe it's out of focus on purpose.
Yes.
So tell us about this one, Erica.
So this is actually a literary journal. It's not horror related. The journal itself isn't horror. It's just a literary journal where she compiles art and fiction and nonfiction based on a theme. So the theme for this issue was dance. So my story in there is dark because most of what I write is.
Yeah, that's your genre. That's your forte.
So I have a short story in there called The Encore.
Encore. Okay.
Yeah, but she has some beautiful artwork and photographs in there as well. And she puts out, obviously it's called quarterly. She puts out an issue every few months. So yeah, I like the journal.
And it's
aside from
fairly new. I see fall of 2019
yeah,
on the
this one
cover.
is, but yeah, it's still um, the journal's still in print. So she, like I said, she comes out with new ones every few months.
That is great. So when you started writing
Hmm.
and you got your first book written and ready to go, what step did you take? For example, this kind the questions. How did you get your book edited, reviewed? Did you self-publish? Did you get a publisher? How did you get your book and quote unquote out there for everybody?
Oops, sorry. So for me, what I did was, because I didn't really know what to do either, I wrote the book and I looked for either, you can either send it to agents who will do all that for you, where they'll, take it on submission to different publishers.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of publishers are open to unedited submissions, at least part of the year.
Uh-huh.
So I sent my first book to publishers that accepted unedited submissions,
Oh,
and
good.
so when they accept it, then the publisher will do the editing, and a lot like they'll work with you, they'll suggest edits, and then you'll approve them.
Oh,
Um,
okay. All right. They don't just do it on their own. They always get your permission.
right,
Okay,
right.
good. All right.
They always get your permission, and then they also do the cover art. So like for
Oh,
This
great.
Cold Night, that the publisher had a relationship with the artist already. They had worked with her before, so they take care of all of those things when you go through a publisher. I've never self-published,
Mm-hmm.
but you would have a lot more. Obviously, you would have a lot more control over every aspect of the book if you self-published.
I see. Interesting. Well, we have a question for you from the audience. So I'll bring that up here. Strangeland's asking, how does the book that she wrote be considered R-rated? Is it a language used rating, or like, why would you say it's rated R? I guess that's the question.
So yeah, I guess the way that in my mind is, if this were a movie and the movie happened exactly how the book's written, what would it be rated?
I
And
see.
there's different um, reasons why I think this book would be R. One of them is, yeah, language is a huge one. Also, the body horror in this is a lot of
I think in violence, I think that goes hand in
violence,
hand.
yeah, creature violence, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we want to make sure, like I said, for people watching this, parents, this is not for your young elementary school kids, I would say, right?
Right. That's what we say. Like when we're saying rated or whatever, it's more to say who's this geared for. This isn't geared for middle schoolers. For example, this is geared for adults.
Yeah, right. I was even saying kindergartner. You don't give this to your first grader, no.
No.
Okay, well, great. That's so. Is all your books? Let me bring this back up. Like this one and this one. Is this the same thing? Could this be? Or I'll just go. Let me go one at a time. Is this also maybe age appropriate on certain things, or what would you say on that one?
Swearing. So I
Just on
think
this one, okay.
this one, yeah, there's not, maybe PG-13 then.
Okay, PG-13. We can work with
I had to,
that.
I had to put a rating on it.
So you write, horror and terror novels.
Hmm.
Um, did you get inspiration like from another author? I think I don't know if we covered this or not, but like, did you get like did you have like an idol, I guess you could say, when you wrote, or did you just say, okay, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm not gonna be influenced by, or I'm not. I haven't been influenced by anybody else.
No, I remember when I was a kid, my grandma would read my sister and I those scary stories to tell in the dark.
Yes.
Those,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
those anthologies that were geared towards kids, but were scary. And I always thought that was the most entertained I ever felt by a book when I was a kid, with scary books. And I think that kind of fun feeling of being scared and at the same time being entertained was always what I wanted to put in my writing. I always wanted people to feel like that way, where this is fun and also scary, but it's kind of fun to be scared. And so yeah, I think, like I said, when I read The Shining, that really, frightened me, and I thought that would be kind of fun to do to other people. Like that would be fun to have that ability to really scare people,
Yeah,
but kind
and
of in a
plus,
fun way, not in a creepy way.
and I think that's smart what you're doing because when people read a horror book, a scary story, uh, it's hard to put it down. In other words, you really are dreading what's going to happen, but it's one of those I can't put it down till I know what happens to
Right,
so and
right,
so or how this ends. But it's just need to know. But then maybe you turn a page and you're shocked,
right.
like oh no.
Yeah.
So your scary stories now. I've seen movies and other authors. We talked about your writing just now, but sometimes the author will take on the point of view of the killer, whoever the killer is. Like for example, the Norman Bates of Psycho, or the
Hmm.
Michael Myers of Halloween. You see what they see. You're getting in the killer's mind. Or sometimes they shift to the victim, but a lot of times they do killer. So does any of your books go from the point of view of the killer, or should I say the bad guy, or is it pretty much okay? Susan ran here, or this happened to Randy. How would you say your books are lined up?
I think. Okay, so yes, there's one short story that I have that's completely from the monster
Oh
point
wow,
of view.
okay.
Um, and then there's another story I have where the perspective changes from it actually changes between three different characters, and one of them is the villain. But mostly not. Mostly my stories are like the protagonist is the good
Oh
guy.
yeah, I see. Okay, not want to get into your secrets, but are you working on any kind of projects now? Will we see any more books from you soon? Or
So
uh, you don't
not
have to tell us if you don't want to. If it's a secret.
no, it's not a secret. I'm just doing some freelance work right now. So I'm doing some ghostwriting projects and some other things that aren't purely my own work. So probably, well, there is going to be one more anthology that's probably going to be coming out this spring that has one of my stories in it.
Oh, good, good.
And but after that, there's probably going to be a little bit of a break, and then I'll probably get back into maybe starting a next project during the summer.
You're gonna stay busy then, regardless.
Yeah, I'll be writing. I just don't. Yeah.
Let me ask you now: personally, have you personally had a paranormal experience? If I could ask that, or have you
Yeah. No, you
suspected you've had an
can.
experience like that?
Yeah. Actually, I have a twin sister.
A
Um,
twin sister. Oh wow.
um, and she and I both had sleep paralysis when we were
Ooh.
teens, and still now a little bit. It's been a while since I've had one, but yeah.
Hmm.
So we've both had kind of scary experiences with that. We're being, where you're awake and you're kind of dreaming, but you can't move, so you can like see things in the room.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's not really paranormal, I guess, because it's like a medical thing, but it feels paranormal when it's happening.
Yeah, I've heard people actually talk about sleep paralysis. I mean, to wake up and you can't move for
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and then I
Yeah.
mean, see, I am very myself. I'm claustrophobic. One of my
Mm-hmm.
biggest fears is to have the feeling of being trapped. For example,
Yeah.
being in an elevator and it stops. Let
Yeah.
me tell you, Erica, anybody else watching this show, you don't want to be with me in an elevator if it stops. Because I'm ashamed as I might be later, I will be climbing the walls because I'm
Yeah.
somewhere where I can't get out. So
Yeah.
I hope, please, I've never had sleep paralysis. That would probably give me a heart attack.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
It is because your brain's pretty much fully there. So you're like, am I going to be like this forever? Am I paralyzed? Like, what? But then after it happens, I think after the first time it happens, you realize the next time that it happens, you're like, oh, this is sleep paralysis. And then I kind of worked out a way to get myself out of it. If I can move my hand, then I'll just wake up
Oh, I see
completely.
what you're saying.
But
I,
yeah, I think people have to find like adaptive ways to get themselves out of it.
I was going to say, how long for you personally did you have? I mean, as far as length, is it seconds, a minute? I mean, how long?
It's seconds, but it feels like a lot longer.
Forever?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
I wouldn't even say it's a minute. It's probably just a matter of seconds, but it feels like kind of how dreams feel. Like sometimes dreams feel like they were a week long, but yeah.
Yeah, my dreams when I was little, when I used to have nightmares, I couldn't run in my dreams. I'd see the
Yes.
quote monster, but I would be running like in slow motion. I couldn't get away
Right.
fast enough. And like my
Yeah, that's
feet were
terrible.
like
Like you're
made of
moving in
lead.
water or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be a story idea. You might want to think about
Yeah,
that.
write that down. Yeah.
Not that you want to relive, a bad memory of sleep paralysis. I
Right.
mean, you may not want to think about that again, but hey, there it is. Oh, wow. So, your movies, I mean, your books. I'm going to bring this one back up again. About what's the length, like number of chapters or like number of pages that's in it? Would you say overall?
I think this was around 25,000 words, so it's novella sized. It's not like a long novel. It's a shorter novella, and I think there's like 12 chapters in it, if I'm remembering right.
Oh, wow.
And
And this
some of
is
the chapters are really short.
okay. And like we just said, now this book is available now. It can be purchased now.
Right. Yeah.
All right. We got another question from the audience. Thanks for the questions, ladies and gentlemen. Texas Front Porch text that I know very well says, "For a hopeful writer, how would one get started?" So, what would be your recommendation to text to get started?
I think it depends on, you have to think about what your goal is. Is your goal to, like, what length do you want to write? Are you wanting to write a novel? Is it fiction, nonfiction? So it really depends on what you're trying to write. If you're trying to write like a fictional novel, for instance, like I do, there's a lot of different uh, ways to get started. First of all, what I like to do, especially when I was new, is um, plot out your chapters, plot out your word counts. If your goal is to get published by a traditional publisher, look at their requirements. Some publishers will say novels have to be between 80,000 and 110,000 words. And if that's, and some publishers will have perspective preferences. So they'll say no, like for instance, a lot of publishers don't like second person or second person present. So they might say, first person, third person, past is fine, whatever. So look up what you like, what your goal is. If your goal is to get traditionally published, then you might look for an agent, or and you might want to, like I did, look for publishers that are open to unagented submissions if you just want to send your novel directly to them. And some things you want to think about before you do that is, once you have your book written, you want a synopsis of the book that's going to do justice for it. So you want it just as high quality as you have the book. And then you want to also have a nice, like a query letter that you're going to send if you're going to send this to an agent or a publisher that kind of sells your book to them. And it's, don't get discouraged. Don't get discouraged if first 5 things you send out, you get rejections on.
Yeah, I've heard you'll get rejections, so.
I don't know of anybody who hasn't. Like you kind of have to expect that that's going to happen.
So have thick skin, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, have confidence that if you like what you wrote, somebody else will. It'll get picked up.
Okay. Now, some people might, do you have like other media, social media that people can follow you on? Do you have a website, should I say?
Yeah, so I have, Twitter is at Erica Schaef, which is my name there. The last name's Schaef. It's a weird.
Okay. At Erica Schaef. Okay.
And then Facebook, just Facebook/Erica Schaef. And then my website is WordPress/Erica Schaef.
Okay, let me bring that up real quick. Let's see. WordPress.Erica Schaef or /Erica Schaef. Let me bring that up so people can see that. Let's see. Make sure I've typed it in right too. Let's see. I typed it in wrong. Let's do it again. Let's see. I definitely. Do you have like a blog there too? People can look at.
Yeah, I do some like reviews, and I haven't been on in a while, but yeah, I do reviews. I write a little bit about the stories and everything I have out, and then.
Okay. Tell me if this looks correct.
Yes, it looks correct.
Okay, there's her website right there. So check it out. She's got a blog there, and also they're able to buy your books right here, correct?
They can. So I have most of the books linked to. Yeah, you should be able to find most of the books, links for most of the books on my website.
Okay, and they can contact you, like for example, once they've read one of your books, they can give you a review. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, they can contact me through the website. There's like a contact me thing. I think my email's just my name at gmail.com. That's on my Facebook and Twitter too, I think. Um, and then yeah, if they'd like to leave a review, Goodreads is a great place. If they get it, Amazon, even if you don't get it from Amazon, you can still leave a review there, and those are really helpful for authors.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, once you buy her book, go to her website. Tell her how much you liked it. She would appreciate that because authors, I know I've heard other authors even say they love it when they can get reviews.
Yes, it really helps get visibility to your book.
Okay, that's great. So you said you don't have any plans, quote unquote, this year to write. But let me ask you this: let me tantalize you, or kind of say, I pick your brain a little bit. Do you have any ideas right now? You don't have to share them
Okay,
about maybe a future project or a future book or a future storyline.
so the only thing I kind of have are some characters that I might want to use, but I don't have anything like burning in my brain to get out. Like sometimes I'll have like a story that I really, really want to write and get it out, but no, not right now. I don't have. Like I said, I have a couple of characters that I'm kind of developing, I guess, in my head, but not anything um, really in the works with them yet.
Sure. On your this book here, I'm gonna go back to your latest book here again. Um, this one is really tantalizing because you know what it reminds me of. I was in a play as an actor a long time ago, and we did an Agatha Christie movie
Okay.
play called 10 Little Indians,
Okay.
and it was about 10 strangers on an island, and one of them, of course, is or could be a killer.
Yes.
And so it was one of these whodunits, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
So would you say This Cold Night is a whodunit, or is this a completely different, type of terror?
I,
Without giving the plot away, of
yeah.
course.
No. Kind of. It's not. Kind of because I think in the sense that you're wondering what's doing these things or who's doing these things,
Hmm.
how these things are happening. Um, Not in the conventional murder mystery way, but yeah, I think there's an element of mystery to, especially to the beginning of it.
Suspense.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've always liked stories that have the twist at the end.
Hmm.
Don't know if yours does, but I'm always like, just when you think as a reader that I figured it out. Okay, I
Yeah,
know this is what this is, and then all of a sudden it flips the script, and you're just like, "Whoa! I didn't see that coming."
yeah. I do. Um, I'd say a little bit of one, not like a M Night Shyamalan one, but
A shock treatment, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, a little one, I'd say.
So on average, not just your latest book, but any book, um, when you're thinking of like a plot line
Hmm.
or a scenario, um, do you? I guess what I'm asking is your work. Do you get like a 3x5 card and say, you know what? Let me write this down. This might be a good thing to write about. Keep it on a bookshelf somewhere, or as you write, do you write as you go? How do you do that?
So both. A lot of times, what ends up happening is I'll either be working on something or thinking about something, and then in the middle of the night, I'll get up and I'll be like, "Oh, that's a great idea. I got to write this down." And then sometimes I'll look at it in the morning and be like, "No, that was not a good idea." And sometimes I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's yeah." So a lot of times, if something comes to me like at an inconvenient time, I'll try to write it down.
Okay.
But
We
yeah,
have another question
yeah.
actually. Country Boy Cryptids is asking. I have trouble writing it to paper. I can see and visualize it in my mind. Any tips?
So what I think now, especially, you're having a lot more options with storytelling with the technology that we have now. So I would say if it's easier for you, if you're open to doing some sort of audio
Like a
production,
tape recorder or a recorder or something.
yes, you can record it or have someone record it, depending on what your goal would be for it. Or if it might be easier for you. Sometimes I don't know if you mean literally writing on paper, but sometimes it's easier for people to type on the computer than to write on paper. Sometimes it's easier for people to write on paper than. So your brain might work better one way or the other. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes I have a better time with my head going to my hand on paper than I do typing. And for some people, it's the opposite. So that might help.
Or get a microphone,
Yeah,
talk into it.
yeah, and you can even like you can get a YouTube channel. You can do something like with an Audible format. There's so many options now that if you want to tell a story, you can do it in a way other than just writing it down.
Or maybe, he could just talk into it and then maybe have someone else transcribe it
Yes,
personally.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can find a transcriber. You could, yeah. I mean, there's some what am I trying to say? Some tech that'll do that for you now, right? Like an app that'll uh, transcribe what you're saying, so you could just go in and fix the errors after it was done.
Got another question for you. I think you covered this, but let's just make sure we got this. Tex is asking, are any of your books on audio?
Yeah, so Eska's on audio. I
This
have
one?
this, yeah, that one. There's one that we don't have the cover for here. It's Night Terrors, Volume 15 from Scare Street.
Mm-hmm.
Then my story in that is The Cathedral of Smoke. That's on Audible. There's another one. I can't think of it right now. I remember it playing. If you go on Audible and search my name, you'll see there's at least one more, and I'm just not thinking of it right now.
That's okay. So that one, this one, at least the one I've got up now, Eska, that is an audio book. It can be.
Yeah, that's an audio production. Like I said, that has like a full cast of people and music and everything. The other one is somebody reading it, like an audiobook.
Yeah, that sounds like people acting it out. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. I thought they did a great job. They were really great to work with.
Now, I'm going to ask you, while I got this pulled up, I didn't ask you this question earlier. Now, we see it's deep sea, but
Mm-hmm.
is it necessarily geographic? In other words, is it Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean, Indian Ocean, or is it all over the world, would you say?
So this one is the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean, if I remember.
Pacific.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was in a trench, I think, in the Pacific Ocean.
Like to use the old Jaws thing, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the ocean again.
And this was one that I had to do a lot of like research on because I didn't know anything about like deep sea traveling or so. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done that, but yeah, I
It,
think
sa- it sounds like a movie a long time ago, back in the 80s, I think, early 90s. It was called The Abyss. I don't know if you've seen that, but that looks kind of
yeah,
like that.
I think there was like was it in the 80s or was there? Yeah,
Might have been 90s.
like
Michael Biehn was in it. Uh-huh.
yeah, yes, that has kind of those vibes. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that looks like a great book to read. And because I'm also intrigued to hear how the people, acted out, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and this one I think kind of encapsulates like a claustrophobia as well because it's in a very small one person
Me. Not
vehicle.
for me. You'll never see me in a submarine unless they drag my dead body on there.
Yeah.
So, okay, that looks very interesting as well. So, and that's available on Amazon as well, correct?
Yeah, that's on Amazon and Audible. Yeah.
On both. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you mention? Now maybe it wasn't that story, but there's one story you could also get on Barnes and Noble. Was that the first one that we saw? I
Yes,
thought you said.
that one, and then I think the Night Terrors book that my story's in also is on Barnes and Noble, if I'm remembering. So I think they have two things there.
Okay. I was going to ask you another thing. You mentioned, we were talking about people. You giving advice to authors that may be watching this, and prospective authors.
Right.
And you said, talking about, you have to, you will get rejected.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the lesson learned is just don't get discouraged. Would that be a correct statement?
Yeah, and a lot of times, even when you get stories rejected, you'll have like the editors or whoever reviewed it will give you some notes about why they rejected it. Like, here's what we liked, but here's what we didn't like, and this is why we had to say no. And then you can start to kind of build off of if you're getting a lot of themes with the same feedback, then maybe if you're willing to change that, maybe think about changing that aspect and see how that does. It also helps to get, if you have people that you trust to give you honest feedback, like in your
Sure.
life, you could say like, hey, take a look at this, read this, and tell me what you really think. Tell me what you think I should change, or what do you think's okay? What do you like about it? So I do that a lot.
Don't know if you knew this, but we got another comment about your book, Eska, that we just showed. Texas and Eska shares this name with fishing lures and attractants. Did you know that? Did you do that on purpose?
Well, where I got name. I didn't know that they were fishing lures. But the anglerfish, that light on the anglerfish, it's called.
Yes, I try to
Yeah,
track
so that's
prey.
where I got that's where I got the name. Was from the anglerfish. I didn't know that they were on fishing lures, so that's pretty cool. I mean, that makes sense. You're luring little fish.
Well, it is kind of an attractant too, maybe
Yeah,
not in a
yeah,
good way. So,
yeah.
hey, that was a keen eye text. Thanks for that. Oh, wow. So you did do some research. You said a little bit on the
hmm
deep sea, I guess you could say, or
hmm
fishing for that book.
Yeah, and like the submarine that the main character goes in. It's fictional, but I had to base it on like a real um, deep sea submersive vehicle because I had no idea about any of that.
Wow, you did a good job, obviously, because they made an audio book out of it, and uh, it sounds very very intriguing. So, so let me bring your website back up too, in case people are just now tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Erica's website, so I would highly encourage you to go. It's www.wordpress, one word, slash Erica Schaef, and that's SCHAEF. And as she said, there's a blog there, and you can communicate with her. And hey, if you read her book, she would really, really appreciate a good review there. So don't forget that as well. Well, Erica, I really appreciate you being on the show tonight.
Well, thank you so much for
We
having me. I had fun.
we've learned a lot, and like I said, you'll find you know, well, you probably already know, there's a lot of people out there that's their forte, is to read scary stories or horror or thrillers, where you don't, you know, again, I bring up the analogy where you want to put it down, but
Hmm.
you can't,
Right.
and you want maybe it's late at night, you want to go to bed, you have to go to work the next day, but you got to know what's happening, but you don't want to know what
Right.
happens. That
You're afraid to know. Yeah.
like the monster at the end of the book,
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm glad we have authors like you to kind of keep us scared, keep us on the edge of our seat, and
Right.
what we say: look under the bed, look in the closet before you go to
Right.
bed.
Wonderful.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like those kind of stories and you want to be on the edge of your seat, then highly recommend you watch Erica's or read Erica's book. Let me show you her latest novel again. This is called This Cold Night. And for those of you just tuned in, this takes place directly after a funeral. Now, that in itself should intrigue you if you like these kind of stories. So, directly after a funeral, I mean, the possibilities are endless. So, sleep well when you read that. Well, Erica, again, I appreciate you being on the show tonight. I wish you the best of luck, and please stay in touch with us. That way, when you do another novel or if you've got another work, we'd love to have you come back on and tell us about it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Erica, and I hope you have a great night.
You too.
Bye bye.
Bye.
And, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for tonight's episode of the Van Buren Variety Show. As always, I'm glad you all tuned in. Just as a reminder, this is for the newcomers that have just tuned in. I am on the air every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We do a live show, and you can tune in then. But hey, if you can't tune in on Tuesday evening, you missed the live show, that's fine. Just go to my channel, Van Buren Variety, all three words, Van Buren Variety. Click on that channel and click on the live tab. And that way you'll see all the episodes I've done so far, the titles, who they are. So, and like one. If you watch the episode, like it if you like it. And for those of you new, hit that subscribe button. That really does help me. It makes me feel good. So build up my ego just a little bit if you like the show. So, and if you like Erica's interview tonight, not only should you buy her books, but make sure you like this video as well and give any kind of feedback or comments that you want, and I'll make sure that she sees them. So for now, that's all for me tonight. I'm glad you all tuned in to the Van Buren Variety Show. I am Bob Van Buren, and I will see you all next week. Good night, everybody.